Hi, thank you for joining Poltergeist Board Games. Today, I am pleased to have Chuck Seegert, who, as you know, has two games out right now, Zero Leader and
Mhm,
Stuka Leader. I wasn't
mhm.
prepared. I should have had the game so I could have showed them, but I'll have my son put pictures up of the game covers
Ah,
in the editing.
excellent, excellent.
And then he's working on right now. Well, you can see Stuka Leader in the
Yep,
background.
I got Stuka Leader over in the corner here, and I could grab Zero
You can
Leader.
see it on
It's
the
in the
bookshelf.
cabinet. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then
and
and he's working on Mustang Leader right now, which
correct.
is my favorite aircraft of World War II. So I'm also excited to be helping with
Yep,
that.
yep,
But that I can't wait for that one to come out. So
yeah. Me neither. Working really hard on getting that put together quick.
all right, my first couple easy questions. What game is on your table, if you have any?
Believe it or not, Mustang Leader, play testing, doing a lot of play testing on it.
No other ones.
Well, I've got a Check Your Six meeting with my war game club up in this area. We're going to play Check Your Six
Okay.
next week. So that'll be a big fun one. And once I get done, when I do all my play testing and such, then I'll probably go back to Stuka Leader until Mustang comes out. And just general putzing around.
All right. And then, do you have a game on the horizon that you're going to purchase?
I don't know. I've I helped with heroic stands.
Uh-huh.
Amos Burke, that's a fantastic set of games. I really like that. So that interests me. Flying Tigers Leader interests me. I'm not into the new stuff, so Eagle Fulcrum Leader, yeah. But otherwise, I pretty much just keep adding to my older games.
Do the Jets just move too fast?
The Jets just move too fast, and I'm not. I've been a World War II buff, specifically World War II aircraft buff, since I was 10 years old, maybe, and that's a long time ago. So I've learned that I love those kinds of airplanes, and I don't know enough about the newer airplanes to really get too involved with them. So I try to stay with World War II, something I know.
I'm looking forward to that heroic stance.
Yes.
Now, is it one game that includes like four titles?
Well, it's three games that are exactly the same, only different. They have much like leaders, where they have the core system is this, and then they have completely different goals and people markers, those kinds of things. Those are all completely different. So it's three complete games. So you can buy any one of the three, but they are like War of the Worlds or any of the leader games or Warfighter, where the core is the core, and then these are different versions of the fluff.
I want to get the one that really interests me is the Alamo because
Uh-huh.
lived in San Antonio, so that one just I don't have any Alamo games, so I think that's the one that I want to get the most.
Sure, you can recognize the neighborhoods then.
On to question one. Of your titles, Zero Leader, Stuka Leader, and now Mustang Leader, which has been the most fun to work on?
Probably Stuka Leader. And I say that I didn't know anything when I did must or Zero Leader. Okay. So it was really me grasping in the dark, thanks to Kevin Verson from DVG Games. He kept me, he shined me a little bit of a light, to keep me at least moving, but I didn't really know what I was doing. Stuka Leader, I knew what I was doing. It was all new and exciting and all that fun stuff. So Stuka Leader was a blast to put together. And Mustang is a lot of fun so far, but much like a job, when you know what you're doing, all of a sudden it doesn't hold that excitement that Stuka Leader held huge amounts of excitement for me. Mustang Leader is very, very exciting, but it isn't like, OMG, because now I know what I'm doing. It's just the really fun things I put into Mustang Leader that are going to make it a blast. But so I can't wait for that to be out and actually have all of the parts. Using paper and my miniatures and everything else is a little awkward. So Stuka Leader right now was the most fun to work on.
Oh, cool. All right.
And I also that's where I got to work with Vlad
Uh,
and Ben Rawlings.
yeah,
And yeah, the three of us in a chat, sometimes we got some work done, but most of the time we had a great time, the three of us working together on that.
I'm actually
And
getting Ben Rawlings on next week.
sweet. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Next, next guest.
Yeah, ask him if he got his shopping done before you talk to him.
Okay. Uh, Question 2: what is your favorite added feature so far?
For Mustang,
Yes.
I'm liking the range where certain aircraft in all the other games you basically could go anywhere with anything. But this range now you have to have the right aircraft to go to hit the right target in that range. So like later on when you're going to bomb Schweinfurt, you have to have the correct bombers and the correct fighters to escort them, that kind of stuff. And making the drop tanks actually a mechanical part of the game rather than just a add-on type of thing. That's a lot of fun. I really enjoy those. And then friendly fire anti-aircraft is it was a savior of mine during one play test where thankfully it knocked down a German fighter that would have knocked me out of the sky. But sometimes it can be a pain when it knocks one of your aircraft out too. So but that's a really neat little add-on that costs you an extra die roll just in case.
I
So
like the way you're adding the drop tanks, because in previous games I never used drop tanks because
correct.
it's just like a stress reducer,
Right.
but so reduces your maneuverability. So I'm like, yeah, I'd rather have another hard point of ammunition,
Correct.
and have a tank. But now you have to have a tank, especially if you're flying a Spitfire, to get
Correct.
extra range. So
Yes.
I like
Yeah.
that you've added.
Yeah,
So
so the Spitfire early war can really only reach the Normandy beaches, that kind of thing. So you have to add a drop tank onto it if it's going to go to range 2 to escort bombers or do something like that. So you're going to be using the drop tanks. They actually have a reason for being. Now, admittedly, later in the war, they don't have much of a reason for being because the forward air bases in France and everything else shortened the range, and they had the P-47, 38s, and 51s that all had the range. So
yeah,
but it's a fun little mechanic.
yeah, it'll be fun to use. Question 3. How did you get into game designing?
I've been doing it really since I was a kid. I would take old Avalon Hill games and go, but this would be better if it had this mechanic, and putting the things together just for myself, obviously. And then I came up with some race games and other games that I put together for my family. That were really neat games. And my wife kept saying, "Oh, you should market that. You should market that." But I never really thought anything of it. And then I was involved in the Corsair Leader Kickstarter, got to know Kevin really well during that. And I said, "Hey, how about if I do Corsair Leader from the Japanese side?" And he didn't think I could do it. And when I showed him what the product was going to be a few weeks later, he was quite excited about it. And all of a sudden, I became a game designer. So it from the humble beginnings, right? But the game turned out really well, and away we went.
I really enjoy Zero Leader, and I've only just delved into Stuka Leader because
Mhm.
I just recently got it, like a month ago. But
Yep.
I've enjoyed that, too. And I also enjoy, that you keep, adding things um,
Yes.
to spice it up a little, so it's not the same cookie cutter system, used. You do, a great job of adding new things,
Yeah.
to liven it.
That's always one of the things when we go to Kickstarter or whatever. Somebody always says, "Well, is this just Corsair Leader with a new paint job or whatever?" And no, I added maneuver and all this other stuff. And now I added other stuff in Stuka, and I'm adding more stuff into Mustang. So, like I say, it's the core, but then expanding out from there.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun.
The expansions for Mustang Leader. That
Mm-hmm.
um All right. Question 4. What are
Yeah.
some of your favorite war games and why?
Some of my favorite war games, I like Avalon Hill's Air Force Dauntless. Um, really like it because honestly, it's too crunchy, but it's a real crunchy. Um, by that I mean it's got plenty of meat to it, plenty of things that you have to do. Um, but it's a real good simulation of air battles, and they have a plethora of aircraft. I mean, it's an old game, but it's got a plethora of aircraft. There, I like that. I like Check Your Six. I think that's more accessible to the average person than Air Force Dauntless. And then I also like Panzer from MBT. I think no, it's GMT. GMT games, Panzer, and those games, because again, it's a tank simulation that isn't like you got to figure out how much gas you've got or anything like that. But you also can suffer a turret hit or track hits or anything. So it's not just roll a 10, or your tank disappears. You do actually have the chances to get damaged in doing that type of thing. And it's a blast to play with miniatures. So those are kind of my favorites. I do really like Gregory Smith's submarine games. Those are a blast.
So I've seen Panzer.
Yep.
Now, is that a solo game or is it two?
No, it's two player, at least two player, because you have hidden orders and that kind of thing. Um, but they came out with in the fourth expansion, they came out with a uh, solo bot, but it's supposedly only for those couple of scenarios that they put. But you know me, I'm working on making it work for all of it. But that's really a lot of fun game to play with people. And and I didn't mention U-boat, U-boat the game.
Hmm,
That is that's a blast with 4 people.
okay, cool. All right. Question 5. What would you say to be your strength in game design?
Um, I firmly believe in the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. Um, and like I told Kevin when we first started, I said it's like dancing on a razor blade. You can go fall off the one side of the razor edge, and now you're in too deep. You've got too heavy of a game for just the average person. Yeah, old guys who like to play real crunchy, they like it. But you fall off the other way, and nobody really likes it because it's not realistic. It doesn't, it's just silly, cartoonish. So dancing on that razor's edge to make the game historic enough that you can play it and recognize these aircraft and that type of thing without getting overly detailed. And what I like to say is that any detail, any extra work or anything I do for the player has to be justified with at least twice as much fun. So I don't want to put in workings where, okay, you got to shake 3 times to see where your airplane is hit or anything like that, because that doesn't add any fun for the player. But pulling out a minor hit or a major hit counter, super simple. And it does add a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
So,
that's another thing I like that you added was those minor and major counters. You know,
mm-hmm.
it's always, like, oh crap, what am I going to pull? Am I going to, like a KIA, or am I going to pull, something like just a stress counter,
Yep.
So it's interesting because you never know what you're going to get.
Yep. And you pull out the one that's your favorite scarf gets shot. So now you actually lose a stress because you get mad. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. The conversation with Kevin, I wanted to separate pilots like I am in Mustang Leader. And he kept leading me back to Thunderbolt Apache Leader and saying, well, it had to be the same as that. And I didn't want it like that because that doesn't work that way. But one of the things that's in Thunderbolt Apache Leader are the counters for damage. It's not minor and major hit, but it's damage. And I'm like, I think that could work. And so I did that, and I did the bogey method, which was something never done in a PVG game, or very few solitaire games that I know of have a bogey method, and that I think that adds a blast to the game.
And it was interesting because when I was going through Stuka Leader, and I was like, I don't understand this bogey, the counters. I was seeing
Mhm.
Bandit, and I'm like, well, what's the difference, And then I got into, the rules more obviously, and then placing them, and it's kind of like it's an unknown element because you don't know, and it's true, you don't know what you're flying against until you actually see it, you know.
Correct.
And, so it's I like that twist, where it's unidentified until you get into that sector, and then you identify what that bogey is.
Yeah, and you don't know what's the skill status.
Mhm.
So it really sucks when your newbie decides to go up against a legendary, you know.
That's what I had in play testing, was my green pilot up against a legendary to
Correct.
cut my ass off.
Exactly. And Glenn Saunders is actually the impetus behind that, because he was talking about, he was working with Zero Leader, and he was saying how he knew a veteran Zero or a veteran Corsair or whatever was coming. So he left his good pilot out of the battle until that one got in there to go after it. And I thought, well, that's not right. So he was the impetus behind the bogey, no bogey rule.
All right, what's your weakness then?
I don't think I have any. No, just again, I keep it simple, and I see areas where it could become a little more layered, a little more nuanced, that type of thing. And I don't do it maybe for fear or whatever. I just don't want it to get that deep. So I guess if my weakness is I'm a little conservative where I shouldn't be. Okay, um, and I'm kind of single minded. Um, I'm more than happy to work with people who, but I'm kind of okay. This is kind of the way I want it. You just help me figure out how to do what I want to do. Don't tell me I can't do that. So sometimes I get like that too. Um, Not very often, just every once in a while.
All right. Who in the industry inspires you and why?
Greg Smith with his hunters and doing that kind of stuff. They're great solitaire games. They're a whole lot of fun. Um, Thompson with his oh, David Thompson with his Pavlov's House, those types of games. Excellent, excellent games.
Same David Thompson, excuse my ignorance, but is he the same David Thompson with Osprey Games with Undaunted?
He does that.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
Just
He's working with I'm sorry. He's working with a bunch of different names, a bunch of different companies, but he's got every one of his games is awesome.
okay.
But I do more of the solitaire games and that type of thing. So him and Gregory Smith, I don't tell them I said this, but I like to steal some of their ideas sometimes, and massage them a little bit, that type of thing. But they're the two as far as designers that really have been helping me out. And uh, Kevin Verson, he's we have a 5-minute phone call that takes about 2.5 hours, and we go over all these ideas, and between the two of us, we come up with a really good idea. He starts on the left, I start on the right, and we end up somewhere close to the middle, which is always a lot of fun too. But so those are the guys I really look up to when I'm playing with a game design.
I really enjoy Greg Smith's games. Everyone I've played, I've gotten a lot of enjoyment out of, and
Mm-hmm.
just finished actually playing Battle of Britain, the Undaunted Battle of Britain. I played it two-handed, and it was fine. But you just make the best choices for
Right.
your and it worked fine, and it was a good system. And I like the tiles, how you can arrange them in different patterns, according
Yep.
to scenarios and stuff. And then Pavlov's House is another. That's a great game.
Great game.
I like that.
Great game.
Only
And
played it.
and
Gonna get it back out and play it.
well, absolutely. And they're heavy games in that they have layers, and it's not just shake and everything dies or whatever, but they're simple enough games that you can play them so quick, it's unbelievable. You can go through a real quick cruise on the hunters, sometimes faster when you're the hunted because you come out of port and die.
I started it, and the one I bought was the Hunted because it was
Mhm.
the newest one, and I enjoyed that one. It was a good game. I'll have to go back and get like Victory at Sea and
Yep.
or no Silent Victory,
Silent Victory.
and the Hunters, and go through them beneath the mist.
Yep.
All right. Question 8. How do you go about your design process?
The first thing I do is, oh, I want a game. I want to do this, right? And then honestly, while I'm driving, I love to drive, and when I drive, I don't listen to music or do anything like that. So if I'm driving by myself, especially, my mind will start to go with different ideas and doing that kind of stuff. So then when I get home, I develop what I call a want list. So on there are the things that I want my game to include, and then a couple things that the game has to include. And then I proceed to figure out, okay, how can I make this work? How can I make that work? And yeah, some of them get dropped off and more of them get added or anything like that. But that's basically where I start. I start with a want list. This is what I'm going to want this game to have. Like in Mustang, I wanted it to have separate pilots. I wanted it to have range, so that you've got to escort bombers a long distance and that type of stuff. So those were a couple of things that were on my want list that I wanted, and then I had to work out the mechanics to make them work, to put it together in a game. So it all starts with a want list. What do
That's,
you want?
so do you have just notebooks full of notes? Do you tape
I've
here in the car?
I've got cards. I've got cards everywhere. I take a small notepad, and a pen is laying right next to my bed because many a times, like 2 in the morning, I just suddenly and get up. And I write it down because when I actually do get up, it's like, oh, what was that idea I had? Now I write it down. My wife thought it was hilarious the first time I did it, but now she sees I make notes, so she's okay with it. But yeah, I got paper and pen, everything everywhere.
What do you do when you're driving?
When I'm driving, it's just basically sitting in my head.
You got to get a recorder,
Yeah, I got to get a recorder or something to record it. I haven't yet,
you don't
but
lose.
I've got one of the things I do. Slight secret: I had a plan for the next game, but I think I'm going to sneak something in between. I listen to my police scanner when I drive, my local police scanner, and I'm hearing all these different fire calls, and I'm like, I wonder if that would be a game where you have to control a fire station. So that's what's going on now. I hear this call for a lift assist or something. I go, okay, how can I do that? What kind of events? And, so that's kind of what's going on in my head right now. Because Mustang Leader, as far as that's concerned, is pretty much done.
Yeah, you could go really far with that. Because I used to listen to a scanner too, and when I was in a bigger city, and
Mm-hmm.
they would have calls that were stayed. They'd be like, these are our calls. We have priority 1, 2, 3. And
Yep.
they were just like stacked. And they had to wait for people to respond to priority 1 and then priority 2 and stuff. And it's interesting.
Exactly. And that's what, when I get done with Mustang Leader is done, then I've got like 3 or 4 fire departments close to me. I'm going to go and talk to their chiefs and look at their equipment and different kinds of stuff. One of the first things I want to ask them is, how do you prioritize? What do you send? If you get an ambulance call for a stroke victim, do you send just the ambulance, or do you send a fire truck with it? Do you have, what I'm saying? So I can get a little bit of an idea of that, because listening on the scanner is amazing. I just
You don't want equipment out of place, when you need a
right,
hook and it's in the wrong area.
correct. Yeah, it's sitting with a lift assist somewhere on the other side of town, and you need it over here for the 4-story fire. You go, oh.
All right. Let's see. Question 9. What is your favorite board game mechanic and why?
I love the dogfighting system of the World War II Leader games. I love that it is it's very good. It's very accurate. Okay. But it's not, super crunchy. You don't have to be banked or do any of that kind of stuff, but it gets to the heart of the matter with just a couple of die rolls, and yeah, your green goes up against the legendary, but the legendary screws up his yo-yo because he shakes a one, and guess what? Suddenly he's being tailed by your green pilot, or more times out of not, vice versa. But I love that mechanic. I think that is so simple.
It's
And
it's a really, yeah, it is a really easy chart to follow,
yes,
and you just have to have your math right, and I'm
yeah,
not great at math. So I'm like, okay, wait, that's a negative plus a negative, like, when you have to add it to, when your negative adds into the, makes it a plus for them or whatever, you know what I mean?
right, right. And I know exactly what you mean, and that's why I've redone when we do a second printing of Stuka Leader, I've redone the dogfight sheet to try and put it in better in line, and where it says, when the opponent is attempting a maneuver, you add this, subtract that. Hopefully that makes it a whole lot easier, because yeah, you're going plus minus minus plus, and yeah, once you get the hang of it, it's like boom, okay. But like when I do playthrough videos, I have to describe what is going on, and then it just sounds like, oh Lord, I just went through 7 math things. My math teacher would be happy, but it's
All right. All right. Question 10. What is one thing about your favorite board game that you would change to make it better?
Stuka. Stuka really is my favorite board game, unless you want to make us go to, um, let's say, Greg Smith's uh, Hunters, is because I really do enjoy that game. I want it to be more tactical. And as I told you earlier, I mash things up. So I actually took that and put it with miniatures and actual movement and everything else. So I kind of meshed the old Avalon Hill game Submarine along with Hunters and that type of stuff. So you actually had to maneuver with the convoy in order to get your shot, not just go, I'm going medium range and shaking the dice. So that's the one thing I would change with those games, is to make them more tactical, more maneuvering and stuff. Now, Gato and U-Boat Leader go down that path, and they do make it more tactical. You've got to maneuver in and not get killed, that type of stuff. But I like the real maneuvering and things that you can do.
Those are the 2 leader games I don't have, or
Yeah,
U-Boat and Gato Leader. But, I need to
I've
get.
got them. I have not played them. They're both there, but I haven't played them yet.
Well, that's all the questions I had. I
Excellent.
really appreciate your time. And
Mhm.
oh, and I wanted to tell everyone that you are like a ninja with your memes and your GIFs, a messenger. You can't go like, you say something and he comes right back with a GIF or a meme.
Yeah.
Um, he's
I
got.
have fun. I don't take anything serious. I mean, I just love to have fun. And when people start to get too serious, well, yeah, that's time for a meme. That's time to fire something at them or whatever. And like working with you, when you need to do something, well, then I'll tell you, this is how we got to do. But I tell it to you in this is a joking kind of way or whatever. And then you and I'll start firing memes back and forth, or laughing and doing that, and it just makes the whole situation a lot more fun. Not as efficient as saying do this, that, but a hell of a lot more fun, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I got into the habit with Zero Leader of answering as the Emperor, um, and Stuka Leader I answer as OKL, and for Mustang I'm just going to be HQ. So I like to answer from a third party, just making it fun. The game, it's a game. It should be fun. So this whole thing is all about having fun.
Yes. You remember when I found my grandfather's, he had a piece of
Yes.
hero, and I sent it, and said, hey, I the Corsair board has found a piece of your airplane,
Yes, I do remember when you did that.
fell out of fell out of the factory, something.
Yep, I remember that. That was early on, and I started laughing, and I thought, "Oh crap!" And then when I started with Stuka Leader, then there was always the meme of the Stuka that goes straight into the ground, and yeah, that's fun. That means people are involved with you and having fun, and that's the key. That's
Yeah.
what I always look forward to.
Well, I enjoy working with you, and I appreciate you having me on the team.
Yep,
And thank you so much for your time today.
no
And
problem.
I hope you have a good rest of your weekend.
Yep.
And, and take care. Okay.
I'm going to try. Just remember when you talk to Ben next week, ask him if he's done shopping or if he's going to have to cut it short.
Okay.
We teased him during our artist chats when we're putting together Stuka Leader and everything else about he once couldn't get right back to me because he said he had to go shopping. So now Vlad and I pile on him about shopping. So you give him that shot from me.
I'll open with that.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks, Scott.
Take care.
All right, man.
Bye.
Bye.